Does QCS Finish Remover take off paint also? Well, let's find out. Here's a side-by-side comparison of two drawers. One has the original vintage finish, and one had been painted some time ago, probably at least a decade or two prior, with purple paint. So we're going to apply QCS first coat to both. We waited about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and applied a second coat to both. And at this point, we're going to test it, and the paint's not really budging. You can see now as we apply the third coat, we did test the vintage drawer, and that did have success after the second coat. That came right off, but we did apply the third and let it work even a little bit more. So with the painted side, again, we're testing it, and it's working in some areas, but we're still fighting it, and you don't want to fight the finish off. You want it to come off like this. Very little pressure. Look at that, like butter. Comes right off. That's what you hope for. That's what QCS is designed to do for vintage and antique finishes, but will it do it with the paint? Also, be careful of these sharp edges when you're using a metal putty knife. You want to make sure you don't gouge the wood. So now we're on to coat 4 on the painted drawer. We're going to let QCS work for us. That's what we're going to do. And while we're waiting for that to work, we're going to go back to this drawer and take care of it. And we're just going to go right on through the finish. It's beautiful, isn't it? Cutting right down to the raw wood, coming off so clean. Beautiful. If you went at this with a sander, you could risk burning through the veneer. You also burn through the color, the patina that's in the wood that has happened over many years. This dresser's from the 50s, so you lose that patina when you grind your way through finish. So this way you're gently removing that old finish, and you're really preserving the material. You're not wearing down that veneer. You're not burning through the veneer, and you're preserving that color. So the final step is just to simply do a dip and scrub method. So you put a little QCS in a cup, and using some single zero steel wool, you're just going to scrub and get the residue off. Those little pesky patches of finish that didn't come off with the putty knife, you're going to go after them and get them off. And then using a paper towel, just clean off the residue. Just going to wipe it down, get all that residue off, the finish, whatever's on the surface, just get that all off before the next step. And you can see how beautiful that wood is. It really preserves all that color that you don't want to lose. So then you're going to move to part 2 of the QCS system, which is our QCS Surface Cleanser. And it does more than just the cleaning after stripping, but in this case, that's what we're using it for. We're going to do a deep clean, get all the residue from the QCS Finish Remover off, get any residual little bit of finish that might be here and there off, and just give it that final deep cleaning. And you can just, you can see it's beautiful. The wood is exactly what you hope for. It's not blotchy. There's no burn throughs in the veneer yet. That's your decision later while you're sanding. Be careful. But right now, there's no burn throughs. It's what you hope for. You don't want to do that. And it just really is a perfect surface to begin with when you're restoring a piece. And now back to the Barney, the Barney drawer over here. And you can see that the finish is starting to come off, the paint. And luckily, it was painted over the original finish. So once we could break through the finish itself, or the paint itself, I should say, there was like a barrier coat, so that purple didn't like pigment the wood too badly. It actually preserved it. So once we got off the majority of it, we went back and again, letting the product work for us. This is not a matter of trying to conserve product. I know that might be a temptation because you want to save money, but your time is valuable too. So let the product do the work for you. Pretend it's an employee. Give it a job. Let it do its job. And here it did its job. Give it another 15 minutes, and the dip and scrub method, and all that little residual that's on the surface is coming off. And now you're really starting to see the results you hope for. But it did take about 3 more coats of product. Not heavy coats, but it did take more product, and it did take more time. But look at that. It cut right through now, and you have a really clean surface, which is awesome. And again, wipe it all down, get that residue off before jumping over to the cleanser. So we've applied the cleanser now. You can see it's on the surface, and we're just going to give that a final wipe down and get whatever's left off. And you can see both drawers now are super clean. They require very little sanding, and you just have a great starting point for a restoration project or whatever it is that you're doing. So there you go, QCS on vintage and on paint.